My best friend and I had a threesome with the shy, closeted lesbian. Henry touched me, and I almost moaned like an idiot. It was just a hand, barely there, 2 fingers brushing my hoodie as he moved past me in the hallway. But my brain short-circuited, like he'd shoved his tongue down my throat in public. "Sorry," he said, stepping back. "Didn't mean to sneak up on you." The music from the living room was thumping through the walls. Someone yelled, "Chug, chug, chug," from the kitchen, but all I could hear was my own heartbeat. I laughed, way too loud. "No, you're good, just, jumpy. Nervous system's a little fried." He tilted his head, beer bottle dangling from his fingers, and looked at me with those stupid green eyes, like he could see all the thoughts I was trying not to think. "You okay?" "No. Nope. Absolutely not." "Yeah," I lied. "Totally fine." He nodded slow. "You look good, smiling." The words hit me like a slap. My ears went hot. I didn't even realize I'd been smiling. What the hell does that mean? Why did he say it like that? Why did I feel something when he said it? My stomach twisted in this weird, awful, fluttery way, and I suddenly couldn't remember how to stand like a normal human. I was hyper-aware of everything. My posture, my hands, the way I was holding my breath like he might say something else and I didn't want to miss it. Henry just gave me one last look, almost like he was waiting for me to say something, and disappeared into the noise of the party. I stood there like a glitching NPC. Heart pounding, mouth dry, brain screaming, what the fuck was that on loop? It was nothing. It was Henry. He's just nice, chill, hot in an obvious way. Guys like him say random charming shit all the time, right? It doesn't mean anything. Except I'm still standing here, still thinking about it, still feeling something. Nope, I'm straight. I like girls, curves, skirts, lip gloss. I've watched porn. This is probably just adrenaline, or low blood sugar, or I don't know. Maybe I hit my head and forgot? Except I didn't, and I can't stop thinking about the way he looked at me. Like I was more than just Zoe's awkward sidekick. Like I mattered. God, I need to go lie down. A few hours later. Zoe has this talent for turning any room into a storm. She showed up to her own party in red glitter eyeshadow and a shirt that was basically one long threat to public decency, grinning like she owned the world. She was already tipsy, dancing on the couch, daring people to outdrink her. Half the campus was there, sweaty bodies, bad decisions, and loud music. But she only looked at one person. Hannah. Shy, quiet, probably regretting her life choices, Hannah, in a soft sweater and her usual oversized glasses, holding a solo cup like it was a fragile heirloom. She didn't drink. She barely spoke, but Zoe's eyes followed her like gravity. They've been circling each other for years. Zoe says she's over it. Zoe says it's hopeless. Zoe says she doesn't even like girls who dress like sad indie movies. But then Hannah walks into the room, and Zoe forgets how to blink. I was sitting on the floor nursing a drink when it happened. Someone shouted, "Truth or dare?" And Zoe, of course, jumped in with both boots. I don't know how it escalated that fast, but it was the alcohol. Maybe it was the way Hannah didn't back down when Zoe dared her to kiss her. Maybe it was the way Hannah's hands trembled when she did it anyway. But next thing I know, we're upstairs. Me, Zoe, Hannah. And yeah, look, I don't usually do this. I don't ever do this. But I said yes because I thought maybe it'd help. Because I needed to prove something to myself. That I was still into girls. That the whole thing with Henry was a fluke. A glitch in the Matrix. Some weird hormonal confusion. That I wasn't broken. So when Zoe looked at me and said, "You in, babe?" And Hannah, red-faced but not saying no, just stared at the carpet like her life was buffering, I nodded. It was messy. Nervous laughter, too many limbs, shirts coming off. Hannah's skin was warm, soft, and she smelled like lavender soap and panic. Zoe kissed like she meant to ruin you. And I tried. I really tried. But the whole time, I was thinking of Henry's fingers brushing my hoodie, his voice in my ear, the way he looked at me like I was worth looking at. I wanted to be present. I wanted to feel wanted. I wanted to want it back. But mostly, I watched Zoe watch Hannah. She kissed her like she'd been starving. She held her like a secret she wasn't ready to let go of. And Hannah, God, Hannah looked at Zoe like the sun was touching her for the first time. It wasn't just sex, not for them. It was everything they'd been holding back. All the tension, all the fear, all the years of almost. And me? I was there, half there, trying to prove something I didn't even believe anymore. And the worst part? I think Hannah knew. She didn't say anything, but she wouldn't look at me either. And Zoe laughed like it didn't mean anything. Like her heart wasn't sitting there between them, raw and stupid and obvious. But it did mean something, to all of us. And now, I can't stop thinking, what the hell did I just do? The next morning. Zoe was already in the kitchen when I woke up, wearing one of my hoodies like it belonged to her, and humming some pop song like nothing had happened. She looked completely fine. No hangover, no shame, just flipping pancakes like she was auditioning for a breakfast commercial. "Morning, slut," she said without looking up. "You look like you fought a bear and lost." I rubbed my face. Was last night real? Uh-huh. She popped the P. "You, me, and Hannah. Definitely happened. Definitely hot. No regrets, bro." I sat down at the table. My head was pounding, and my heart felt weird. Too full and too empty at the same time. Is Hannah still here? Nope, she left before sunrise. Ninja exit. I didn't even hear the door. There was this long, stupid silence while she flipped a pancake and scraped the burnt edge off like it wasn't symbolic of literally anything. She didn't say anything? She barely said anything during, Zoe said with a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. You know how she is. Quiet, mysterious, emotionally repressed. I didn't laugh. My stomach felt twisted. She looked... I don't even know. Kind of wrecked after. Zoe poured syrup on her pancake like she was trying to drown something. Yeah, well, orgasms'll do that to you. Zoe... She finally looked at me, and for a second, just a second, the cool, sarcastic wall cracked. She knew what it was, Atlas. It was just sex. You sure about that? She didn't answer, and I couldn't stop thinking about Hannah's face after we finished. This stunned, quiet devastation, like she'd just broken her own rules and expected something to change. Like she was hoping one of us would stay and tell her it meant something, and instead, we just slept. Or worse, pretended it was nothing. A few days later, Hannah basically disappeared. No texts, no library sightings, no random run-ins between classes. It was like she'd hit mute on the entire world. I bumped into her once, literally. I was rounding a corner in the campus library and tripped over someone's discarded gym bag. I crashed right into her, knocking her shoulder with mine hard enough to jolt us both. Sorry, I blurted. She stared at me, blinked, then gave the smallest nod and whispered, It's fine. Like I was a stranger she didn't want to talk to, and she walked away. Didn't ask how I was, didn't joke, didn't meet my eyes, just left. It hurt more than it should have. I told Zoe about it later, hoping she'd say something, anything to prove she cared too. She's not mad, I said. She's just hurt. Zoe was lying on my bed, half scrolling through her phone and half eating trail mix, like she wasn't emotionally imploding inside. She knew what it was, she mumbled, tossing a raisin in the air and catching it with her mouth. I told her I'm not built for soft stuff. Zoe, I think she's in love with you. She looked at me, and her eyes flashed with something. Fear, maybe? Or regret? "I'm not her fairy tale, Atlas," she said, voice softer than I'd heard it in weeks. "I break things. It's what I do." "You didn't break her," I said. "She gave you something fragile and you pretended it wasn't real." Zoe turned back to her phone. "Yeah, well, better now than later." "So, you're telling me you won't mind if Hannah starts dating someone else?" I said, raising an eyebrow. Zoe's gaze met mine, but only for a few seconds before she looked away. The expression on her face said enough that she was upset with the thought. Jealous as well, or maybe both. But she chose not to speak, and just like that, the wall went back up. Over a week later, I finally cornered Hannah behind the student union building, by the row of vending machines that always ate your dollar and never gave you the chips. It was late. She was sitting alone, camera bag hugged to her chest, hoodie drawn up like she was trying to disappear inside it. She looked up, startled, like I was the last person she expected. "I just wanted to say hi," I said, trying not to sound breathless. "You've been kinda MIA?" She gave a small shrug, didn't speak. I sat down beside her, leaving enough space so she didn't feel cornered. She smelled like clean laundry and faint cinnamon. I hesitated. "Wanted to say, I hope you're okay." Her grip on the camera bag tightened. "You don't have to check on me," she said quietly. "I know I don't," I said. "I wanted to." And then she looked at me. Really looked at me. And it wasn't anger on her face. It was pain. Like kindness was too sharp. Like my voice was another reminder she didn't want. "Don't do that," she whispered. "Don't be nice to me." "Why not?" "Because you were there. You saw. You know it wasn't just a hookup for me, and now you're here. Being kind like that doesn't make it worse." My throat tightened. "Hannah, I thought maybe it meant something, even just a little, but it didn't. Did it?" I couldn't lie to her, but I didn't know what the truth was either. And I think she saw that in my face. She stood up, her shoulders shaking a little. "I can't do this. I can't be around people who don't want me back." And then she left, again, and all I could do was sit there, wishing I could fix it, wishing I'd said more, wishing I hadn't been part of what broke her. A week later, the student art fair was a chaos of noise and colors and weird smells, like someone mixed popcorn with paint fumes and burnt incense. Zoe dragged me through it like a tornado, her energy wild and fierce, eyes sparkling with this manic kind of hope I didn't quite get. "Are you sure about this?" I asked, trying to keep up as she practically pulled me across the crowded hall. "Nope," she said with a grin that didn't quite reach her eyes. "But I'm doing it anyway. Hannah deserves this, even if she hates me tomorrow." We squeezed past a group of sculpture majors arguing about existentialism and finally reached a quiet corner, tucked behind a row of half-finished canvases and glowing fairy lights. There it was, Hannah's secret. Massive prints of her photography, arranged like a quiet shrine. Each picture was this raw, haunting look at people nobody else bothered to see, their faces half lit by streetlights, a laugh caught mid-air, a forgotten tear on a stranger's cheek. It was like Hannah was trying to save these moments from disappearing, like she was immortalizing the world no one else saw. Zoe had taped a small card underneath the biggest photo, a blurry shot of a woman laughing so hard her head tilted back. "You see everyone. Let me see you." I swallowed. It felt like the words reached out and grabbed my throat. "Zoe," I said softly. "She's brilliant," Zoe whispered, biting her lip. "She just doesn't know it yet. Or maybe she does, but she's scared." And then I saw her. Hannah stood just beyond the glow of the exhibit, hood up, glasses slipping down her nose, hands stuffed deep in her pockets. Her eyes were wide, scanning the photos like she was trying to memorize every detail, maybe so she could run away later and pretend none of it happened. For a heartbeat, I thought she might bolt, but she didn't. Slowly, she stepped forward, closer and closer, her body trembling like a leaf in the wind. Her gaze locked on the card. Her lips trembled. She looked up, right at Zoe. And Zoe, for once, wasn't the fearless, loud force of nature I knew. She was vulnerable, bare. Both of them stood frozen in the quiet chaos of the art fair, saying everything without words. For a long moment, time slowed. Hannah's eyes glistened, raw and honest, while Zoe's gaze softened like she was seeing Hannah for the first time. Not the mystery or the crush, but the real person standing right in front of her. They didn't need to say anything. I could feel it, this quiet shift, this fragile spark blooming between them. I smiled to myself and quietly slipped away, leaving them there in that small, perfect bubble. Because sometimes, the best thing you can do is just step back and let something beautiful start on its own. A few weeks later. After the art fair, something shifted between Zoe and Hannah. Slowly, awkwardly, but definitely for real. They didn't just avoid each other or act like nothing happened. Instead, they started talking. Like actual talking. Not just the usual library nods or passing smiles, but real conversations that lasted longer than a minute. I'd catch them sitting together on the quad, Hannah with her camera, Zoe teasing her about how serious she looked when she focused. Or Zoe dragging Hannah to some weird late-night food truck with neon lights buzzing overhead. Both of them laughing over burnt fries and cheap sodas. They even started trading pictures. Hannah's photos of Zoe laughing with her mouth full, Zoe's selfies that somehow captured Hannah's shy smile in the background. They hadn't confessed anything. Not yet. The walls were still there, thick and high and built from years of fear and silence. But those walls were starting to crack, just a little. Watching them click, making memories, I felt this weird little squeeze in my chest. I wanted something like that too, but with Henry. Then I shook my head, trying to kick that thought away. What the hell is wrong with me? I thought. I'm straight. I like girls, always have been. This is just some dumb crush. But the truth was, every time I saw Henry smile, or the way his eyes caught the light just right, I felt my stomach twist in that fluttery, awful way again. I shoved the thought down and tried to focus on Zoe and Hannah, because right now, they needed me more than I needed to figure out my own mess. 2 days later. 2 days later, Hannah was gone, like, fully erased. Her Instagram was wiped clean, her photos folder vanished from the art lab drive, no texts, no social media likes, no shifts at the library. I found her one afternoon behind the music building, curled beneath a twisted oak tree, knees pulled tight to her chest, her phone face down in the grass like it was poison. "Hey," I said gently, sitting a few feet away. She flinched, startled, eyes red and swollen like she'd been crying for hours. "I just wanted to check if you're okay," I said, voice low. She hesitated, biting her lip like she was trying to hold back a storm. "My parents are here," she whispered, barely loud enough for me to hear. "They found our photos." Her eyes flicked away for a second, like she was scared of what I might say next. "They asked me if it was true, if I was..." Her voice cracked. "I lied, told them it was just some project for class." I could tell they weren't just worried about grades or art stuff. There was something else behind their questions, something heavy. From what I'd heard, Hannah's family was really strict, real old-fashioned. Probably the kind to believe the Bible means what it says, no room for anything different. They didn't say it outright, but you could feel the judgment hanging in the air. And I could guess. They probably picked up on the way Hannah and Zoe looked at each other, too much too often, to be just friends. She hugged her knees tighter, like she was trying to disappear. "I panicked," she said. "I don't want to lose them." I didn't say anything at first. Then I said, "You don't owe anyone the truth before you're ready, but you do owe yourself a chance." She looked up at me, tearful but searching. "I don't even know who that is," she said. I nodded. "I know her. She's brave. She sees everything, It captures what most people miss. I think she's the part of you you haven't let breathe yet." Her gaze faltered. "I'm scared," she said honestly. "Me too," I admitted. "But running away won't make it easier." She let out a shaky breath and leaned back against the tree. "Thanks for not giving up," she whispered. Later that day, I was wandering the dorm halls, my brain spinning, when I literally bumped into Henry, almost dropped my backpack and swore under my breath. He laughed, a soft, easy sound that somehow made my chest skip a beat. "Sorry, didn't see you there," he said, eyes looking on mine like he was reading the mess behind my awkwardness. "Yeah, my bad, I wasn't paying attention," I mumbled, cheeks heating up. He held my gaze for a moment. No teasing, just this quiet, warm look like he wanted me to know something without saying it outright. Then, with a small smile, he said, "You know, Atlas, you can try all you want to hide a smile, but your eyes, they're way too honest." I blinked, caught off guard. "What?" "Yeah," he said, voice low and soft, just for me. "It's kind of adorable, like they're daring me to figure it out." My heart did this stupid flip-flop, like standing on the edge of something new and maybe amazing. I opened my mouth, but all I managed was a shy laugh and a quiet, "Thanks?" He shrugged like it was no big deal, then walked away, leaving me standing there, breathless and weirdly warm. That moment, it was the kind that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about yourself, without even trying. A few days later, Hannah still hadn't talked to Zoe, and Zoe was losing it, like full-on panic mode. So I started looking for her, asking around, trying to find where she might have disappeared to. A few days later, we found her in the botanical gardens, me and Henry. Yeah, Henry, because apparently, when your best friend's falling apart emotionally, the first person you text for help is the one guy you can't stop thinking about. She was sitting on a cold stone bench under a canopy of twisted vines, her camera resting beside her like a forgotten friend. Her fingers traced the rim of a cracked ceramic mug, her eyes distant and heavy. Zoe's texts were unread on her phone, buzzing quietly in her bag. I crouched down next to her, heart thudding like a drum. "Hey," brought back up. Henry gave a small, almost shy wave. "Hey, I'm mostly here to remind her she's not alone, and to make terrible jokes if needed." She gave the faintest smile. "I don't know if I can do this," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "My parents, they said things, the things that broke me." Henry sat beside her, quiet and calm. "I've seen friends lose everything because of who they are, and I've seen others pretend until they could build something better." He looked at her with real kindness. "But the ones who choose themselves, they don't always win immediately, but they always find peace." She looked from Henry to me. "You think I can choose myself?" I nodded hard. "You already did, the moment you stepped into that gallery and didn't run." She wiped a tear away. "Then maybe I'm stronger than I think." And even with her hands shaking, sitting there under those twisted vines, she looked like she might just be. The same day. Zoe wasn't the type to back down, but this was different. This was personal. I tagged along, mostly to keep things from exploding. Though Zoe's idea of keeping things calm is usually just diving headfirst into the storm. We stood outside the Airbnb where Hannah's parents were staying. The air was heavy with that tense quiet that comes just before a fight you don't want but have to have. Zoe pulled her phone out, took a deep breath, and said, "Okay, let's do this." Her plan? To talk to Hannah's parents. And not with anger or accusations, but with something way scarier. Compassion. The door opened, and Mrs. Lee's eyes narrowed the moment she saw Zoe, Conservative, strict, the kind of woman whose faith shaped every inch of her world, and whose judgment was almost palpable. Zoe didn't flinch. "I know you're worried," Zoe started, her voice steady but soft. "But Hannah is her own person. She's brave enough to live her truth, even if it scares us." Mrs. Lee was quiet. The silence hung thick for a moment before Mr. Lee, stoic as ever, said quietly, "We just want what's best for her." "I know," Zoe said, "but what's best is letting her choose who she loves." I watched Hannah through the window, silent, barely breathing, caught between worlds. I felt like maybe, just maybe, Zoe was planting the first seeds of something that could grow. A few days later. Days passed without a word from Hannah. Zoe was crumbling. She paced around our usual hangout spots, dropping half-hearted jokes that barely hid her worry. I tried to stay out of the way, but it was like being stuck between two storms, Hannah's silence and Zoe's growing panic. And then, one late afternoon, just as Zoe was about to give up, Hannah showed up. She walked right in, camera in hand, like she was stepping back into a world she'd been too scared to face. Her hands trembled slightly, but her eyes were steady. They started talking, and suddenly Zoe was all over the place. I had never seen her losing it like this. She was mid-rant, trying to explain why she was right to be mad, scared, hopeful, all tangled together, when Hannah lifted her camera, aimed it, and snapped a picture of Zoe. The room went quiet. Hannah lowered the camera and said, soft but clear, "I want this." It wasn't just the photo she wanted. It was Zoe, and all the messy, beautiful things tangled up with her. The walls came down just a little that day, and I knew things would never be the same. 2 weeks later. The auditorium was packed, buzzing with that quiet energy only a college crowd could hold. The kind that's both impatient and hopeful, like everyone was waiting for something real to happen. Hannah stepped up to the mic, clutching a small stack of poems she'd written. Her voice was soft, almost fragile, but every word carried weight, like she was finally letting herself be seen. The way she spoke about fear, love, and breaking free made it clear she was sharing pieces of herself she'd kept hidden for so long. When she finished, the room stayed still for a heartbeat, then erupted in applause. Hannah's eyes flicked to Zoe, who was sitting in the front row, and in that look, I could see a whole conversation happening without words. They both knew this moment was bigger than just a reading. After the crowd settled, Hannah didn't hesitate. She stood, walked right over to Zoe, and kissed her. It wasn't flashy or dramatic, just quiet, sure, and full of everything they'd been too scared to say out loud. The kind of kiss that felt like home. I was standing at the back, heart thumping so loud I thought maybe everyone could hear it. Watching them, I felt this surge of joy and relief, like maybe love really could break through all the walls we put up. Then I turned and saw Henry standing beside me, clapping quietly, that slow, easy smile on his face. But then his eyes met mine, and something shifted, a gentle warmth, an understanding that made my chest tighten in the best way. He didn't say a word, just gave me that look, the one that says, "I see you, I'm here." I looked away, cheeks burning, my heart racing, but this time, it didn't feel scary. It felt possible. Because if Zoe and Hannah could find their way through all that fear and silence, maybe there was a chance for me and Henry too. And for the first time in a long time, I believed that maybe, just maybe, I didn't have to figure it all out alone. The end. Do you think Atlas will ever be able to fully accept his true feelings like Zoe and Hannah? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become a part of our Rainbow Force, and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.